I'm
This
asking you
conference will now be recorded.
the Derby database thing, right? You install
Oh,
it.
Derby. Yes, yes, Derby. Yes, yes. How did you have a chance to look at it?
I have looked it. So you can connect the Derby with Eclipse, or even you can connect with the command prompt also. So it was a simple thing only. So you have installed it, right? So like you have that
No, no,
downloaded,
no.
right? So
I haven't done that. I haven't done that. Like what we want to do is like we want to basically we want to install and set up it.
yes.
So
So you have downloaded the jar file, right? The Derby database jar file.
no, no, no. I haven't done anything. So
Okay.
but yes, but the thing is like I can do that. The thing is like basically after download how to do that. That's the
Oh,
problem for me now.
it
Like
was simple. Even I have seen in the YouTube actually. So you can follow the steps actually. I have seen it. So you download that Derby database based on your
okay.
version, right? Maybe whatever the like the you have 64-bit or based on that, you just go to that site and download the Derby database. So EAR file and extract the Derby database EAR file. And after extracting the Derby database EAR file, try to make sure that you have this JDK. I think you have the JDK, right?
Yes.
So it is with the Java actually. This is for Apache, right? So it requires the JDK to be there in your system. And for example, if the JDK you are having 1.8, so download the Derby for 1.8, right? You will see when you are trying to download the Derby, you find different versions of that, right? So based on the JDK that you have, for example, you have 1.6, download it for 1.6. I think you can go to program files and see what JDK you have, first of all. I think you are getting right, Mike.
Yeah, yes, yes.
So,
I'm here. Yes, I'm listening to you now. Yes.
okay. So after downloading that Derby database thing, what you do, you write, so you can set that as a path variable actually. So for example, in the command, you have environment variables, right? You remember, you know that environment variables, where you need to set a path.
Mm, mm.
Uh,
Yes, yes. I think it's so. Basically, you have you have the I mean, for you, it's like you think it won't be a problem, right? Seem like
yes, yes, I can download it and do it. For example, when you want, like you faced any problems, you can let me know. You can share your screen and then I can help you. That is not a problem.
okay, okay. Okay, sure. So basically, just follow the step, right? Follow the link I sent to you, right?
Oh,
And
no, no,
then
no. So I think in that link, they have not given all the steps actually. So whatever I'm telling you, there was not steps they have given in that link actually.
okay,
So you
okay,
will have that you can even check it out in the YouTube also. So even I have seen there itself. So it's very
okay,
simple. So what you
okay.
do, you download, you extract that EAR file. After extracting that EAR file, you just have to set the path, and you need to follow some commands. Actually, how to tell you? I will share my screen just a
Okay, okay, sure.
minute. Okay, share the screen.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Thank you. I will just I will take some. Oh, okay. Anyway, it's recorded. Okay. Yes. Okay. So first step, what I should do. So it's
Okay,
like
okay.
from here.
Give me a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I cannot move this icon. Okay. So what you have sent yesterday. So it is not yesterday, right? It is
No.
this one, right? So you don't have
Yeah, this is the link I sent to you.
yes. So what you basically required is nothing but to connect to the database and write some to create some tables or something like that, or you want the type. So it is with the JDBC actually.
Yeah. Basically, because I know there is in the link there is a sample application. What I need is to set up the Derby database and then deploy. And also set up a Tomcat, and then I deploy that sample application, and then it's finished.
Sorry, can you repeat? You want to download the
Sure.
database?
Yeah, sure. Basically, first is to have Tomcat set up also, and then also set up Derby
Okay.
database, and then deploy. Yeah, you can see deploy this Derby JPEG store for Tomcat. Deploy this application, sample application to the Tomcat server with Derby database, and then it's done.
Okay, you want to deploy that sample
Yes,
up the download.
yes, yes. So that's why it's a little bit maybe time consuming, or yeah.
You can download. So I think you have the Tomcat, right? No, you have installed Tomcat also.
Yes, but now I have Tomcat 9, so
Okay.
but
So if
here is 5. So but the
having a
thing is,
higher versions will not be a problem. Mostly it will not be a problem. So for example, when you have a Tomcat 6 and if you're trying to, for example, you have Tomcat 8, if you're trying to use for something with a 4 or 3 versions, it will not be an issue. But when you have lower versions and when you're trying to connect with the higher versions, it will be cause an issue. For example, they say that you should have a JDK of 5, but I have a JDK of like 8 version. So that will not be an issue. So it is not required me to get that down. So for example, if you say JDK 10 required, and if I have a 8, that will have a problem. If
okay.
you are getting right?
Okay, I have an idea. So I think maybe the first thing I can do today, like this week, I can configure Tomcat 9 version 9, and also then to download this sample app, and I can do these two things, right? And then I will. So where to download the DB? It's an app, right?
Ah,
The Derby thing I can download from. I think I can download from this link, right? The Derby.
yes, yes. Download the Derby Tomcat for
Yeah.
associated with that, move to the download it.
Yeah, and then I will see what I can do, and then yeah, I can do some, maybe like this week I can do some basic things, and
Yes,
then we can try how to and I will try to set up, and then if there is any issue, maybe we can contact.
yes. So it's very
I,
simple. You have JDK, right? Anyway, you have
uh,
JDK.
yes, JDK, yes,
So
JDK.
you can use this Tomcat. It's like it's your wish. So if you don't have Tomcat, use this Tomcat itself. For example, I have Tomcat 9 version in my Eclipse, so 8 version. So I'm not downloading Tomcat, right?
Yeah.
But so I'm downloading this Derbid thing. So it got downloaded, and I'm
Yes.
just extracting that unzip folder. I think why I cannot able to extract it. So extract all. I'm extracting C downloads. So if you want, you can change the location. Something I'm keeping it on E folder, right? So, okay, I'm extracting all this here. So what I've seen in the net is nothing but just they are connecting it from the command prompt. Like
I think that's
local
the part like I'm not familiar with. Like I for like downloading and to install there is no issue. After that, I think there is a problem like how to properly deploy it and those things. Yeah, here basically here is that part I don't have a good idea.
Okay, okay. Actually, I have seen that connections, like how you do that connections is like, okay. I'm just telling you how to do that connection, what I've seen that. So I'll check that document even. See, sorry, I don't know it in E, right? You see there is a derby. Okay, and create a folder. Something. So you have a derby database. So from the command prompt, they started that network server. I'm just seeing whether this is working or not. Okay, I have to check this again. So one, I have seen that they have started the network server and it is connecting to the database. So fine. So what you want, you just want to deploy it, right? So you can just download it and see that whether the connection is working or not, whether it has been thing or not,
Yeah.
and set up initial path of Derby. So first thing, try to have this installations. Like I think you don't have the Tomcat, right? So download the Tomcat.
Yeah, I mean, first thing what I can do, I can download the Tomcat, install it, and then I download the Derby
Derby.
Jmeter store for Tomcat, this sample application, right?
Mm.
And also,
Yes.
I think I download the Derby, and I can do these three things, and then we can like maybe connect to see what I should do.
Yes, yes. So you can just
Where is the Derby link? Where you download the Derby? You from here? Where the download, right? You from here. You get the Derby.
yes, yes. From here itself, I downloaded that.
Okay, okay, sure. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will do these three things first. I
Mm.
because I have like a dedicated server just for this. I will do that there.
Okay, so the requirement for you is nothing but like you just want to have a Derby database and Tomcat, and you want to deploy some application to that Derby database. Is that
Yes,
right?
yes. Deploy. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And the application is here. We just actually we just you just download it, and then yeah, I will do these three basic things first. Then I will try to like deploy probably, and try to deploy. That's the next step.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
yes.
now it's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now it's good. Thank you. Yeah, I will do that like this week.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So yesterday we are with the inter-thread communication. Inter-thread communication got finished. Yesterday we are with the wait, notify all, right?
Yes, we talked. Yes, I remember that. We talked about.
So what is that is nothing but whenever you want the threads to be communicate with each other, right?
Yes.
So that we use in wait, notify all, and these three methods are present in object class because you'll not be calling that on your thread. For example, sleep method or wait method, we are calling, is a sleep method, or your yield method you are calling on a thread. So you see thread dot sleep. These methods are present in thread class. But in case of this wait, notify, these are not present in thread class. They are present in your object class because you call that on your objects, right? So yesterday we have this example. So, oh no, it's getting slow. So yesterday we have seen one example. What is that example? We have child thread as well as a main thread, right? So in the main thread, you want to print some value. That value will be coming from your child thread. So for example, you have some value. So that say maybe some addition or something. So whenever it completes its total action, for example, you are having a value and you are for looping it for 10 times, right? So then the value gets changed, right, after getting for looping for 10 times, right? So that I'm saying as a total value, right? So that total value you want to print it in your main thread, right? So whenever you don't have this inter-thread communication, what happens? So so there are two threads, right? So obviously when you have a two threads, you have the dependency here. So what is the dependency? Your first, which thread has to be executed? Your child thread has to be executed, and your main thread has to be executed. So it is not only the execution of total child thread. What you want only some part of the child thread. So only this part of the child thread has to be executed. What part of your where you do the calculation. So similarly, when you do big applications, so and whenever you have multiple threads, for example, you do some calculation in one of the thread, right? So what is the requirement is after completing the total calculation only, you want that value to be given to some other thread, right? So for example, you if it gives in the intermediate one, you get some this like the values which you don't expect it, right? So that should not happen. Whenever your complete calculation happens only, you want that value to be taken care, that should be printed, means that should be assigned to some other thread or some requirement you have. So for that only we have taken this example. So in this example we have a child thread and a main thread. So this is the main thread. In this main thread, what I am printing the total value. Where this total value, this is the total value from where I'm getting it from my child thread, right? So here the name is indicating what is the total value after completing this calculation only. I just want to print it after iterating this for 50 times only. I have to print this value, right? So if there is no synchronization and if there is no inter-thread communication, what happens? You don't expect, you cannot say that the value of a total value will be the proper output. It may be intermediate one. It may be, for example, if the loop has done for 30 times, so after 30 times that value gets printed, that value may be printed. We can here that value gets printed after doing it 30 times, or the value may printed first time with the 0 value, right? So this thing, or it may printed with a complete value. So you may get a correct output or wrong output. You cannot guarantee it. So that you don't want to happen. Your requirement is nothing but your total value should be printed after completing this 50 iterations only. After doing this 50 iterations only, I just want that total value. So for example, if I run this in code now, so slow. on some error, right? Main thread exception unsolved. Give a minute, why there is an error?
Yeah, there's error.
Okay.
Compilation problem.
Okay, I have not seen that. Okay, so there was a compilation error, right? It was indicating here itself. Okay, unwantedly that came. Right. So if you see what is the value it's getting printed, it is printing that zero value, right? But what is the value you want? You want the total value. So for example, what is my total value here will be okay, it is printing for the first time itself. So this is my total value. It has to be printed, right? So, but what it is printing, it is printing the zero. That should not happen. So my total after completing that action has to be after completing the total action only, my value has to be printed. So you may get a doubt. I can do sleep method also. So for example, if I do sleep method, what happens? That thread will complete its action. It will print. So 1 second or 10,000. So this is a long time. So by this time, the calculation will be completed and I'll be getting a proper output. So I'm waiting for 10 seconds, right? It is required just to wait for 1 second also, but I'm just waiting for 10 seconds. So then what happens? That calculation will happen and you will get the total output, right? The total output is 1,225. All right. So this is your requirement, but so the requirement is you're clear with the requirement. The requirement here is nothing but I'm printing some value. The child the operation for the value for which the operation has been completed, the calculation has been completed in the child thread. So if there is no synchronization, you may get different values like 0 or something else. Why? Because these are the two threads and your compiler will not don't know for which thread it will give the chance, and there may be any thread may can execute. So to meet that requirement, what you can do, you can use the sleep method also. But there is some disadvantage with the sleep method. So when I use a sleep method, if you see, you are getting that 1,225, right? You achieved your requirement, but so it is not the right scenario to use the sleep method, right? So whenever you do any coding, what happens to meet the requirement, you have so you will have different number of choices, right? So but based on the situation, you need to decide which choice you need to take. That matters a lot, right? So that matters your performance, right? You're getting me right, Mike? You can anyway you can achieve your requirement, but that is not your that will not be the correct solution, right? So for achieving the requirement also, you need to see that, so what is the minimal code I need to write, or what is the things that makes the requirement to achieve very faster. Is that clear with are you clear with me, Mike? Right now with me, right, Mike? Sorry,
Yeah.
confused. So you got the requirement here, but when I use a sleep method, there is a disadvantages. Can you tell me what is that disadvantage, Mike?
Yeah.
When you are clear with the this requirement, you can able to tell me the disadvantage when I use sleep method.
Yeah, you may wait like extra time, like
Yes.
performance. Yeah, because maybe
Yes.
about like 8,000 is already done, but you need to wait another 2,000, which is not necessary.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. Very good. So here, that is not necessary, right? Because you are waiting it, but you don't. But you are waiting extra time because it has completed in 1 second, but you are waiting 10 seconds. So your sleep method is not a good choice here. So that's the reason you cannot use that sleep method, because there is a you get a performance, right? You are waiting some extra time. That is not the good case. So even can I can do something. What is the other thing that I can do? There are a lot of we have seen all that things, right? Red dot.
Yes. Let me see. Yesterday you talk. Yes, you talked about wait, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. We talked about the yield. Okay.
Okay. So even I can write yield, right?
Yes. I think so.
So, but even there is a with the yield also you'll achieve this requirement, because the way the thread will go to the waiting state. I think you get that requirement. Okay, sometimes it will not happen. Thread dot yield. Okay, so even this is not guaranteed. Go to the waiting state. Okay, even you can do the thread dot yield. What is the meaning of yield method? That when you do an yield method, the current executing thread will go to the waiting state, right? So whenever it goes to the waiting state, it does not guarantee that it will give the chance to this, right? So, and you don't guarantee that this will execute. So that's our yield method, right? So whenever you do an yield method, the current thread will go to the state, but you don't guarantee that which thread will be executed, right? So that you cannot do. So what is the other thing that you can do? You have a join method. So when you do join method, that can be achieved. So what is the join method I can do on this current thread? I can call which one? I can call join. So join of which one? I need to call the join of your child thread. So until completing of your child thread, what happens? This thread will be in a waiting state. So then what I need to do? A dot join, I can say. This is also one of the way that you will achieve that requirement. You understood? You understood?
Joy. Okay.
So you may be in like little forgot about join method. How is the join?
Join.
I
Yeah, let's
showed the
join
PPT.
a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Yield, I remember. Join.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
No, no,
we
no,
talked
no
about.
worry. No worry. I'll be showing you that. So whenever there is a thread is getting executed, what happens? You want some other thread to continue and you want to stop the executing thread. So if you see in this diagram, your main thread is executing it. Now what happened? You want to stop this main thread and you want to start thread one to execute, right? So then what you do, you call thread on the main thread. What you call thread one dot join, right? So what happens? That particular thread will go to the waiting state. So on which thread you called join method? You called join method on main thread, right? So that main thread will go to the waiting state until completing of your thread one. So if you see, main thread will stop execution at this time, and thread 1 will start to complete
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Searches the current thread to execute and it joins the complete task. So for example, when you are executing main thread, what I want thread 1 to complete its start and again start main thread. So on current thread, what I will do, I will call what the thread 1 dot join. Then what happens? Your thread 1 will start executing and the current thread will go to the waiting state, right?
Yes.
So here also, when you see this, what you have, what is this is my main thread. So when my main thread is executing, the requirement is what? This should not execute now. This total value should not be executed right now, right? When you want to execute this after completing this child thread only, that is your requirement, right? So that further case, what I can do, I can call a1 dot join. What is your a1 here? A1 is nothing but my thread 1, right? I am calling child thread. So A1 or A. So this is nothing but I have taken A. So this is your A. A extends thread, right? So A is nothing but your child thread. So what I'm doing, A dot join. Then what happens? Your A dot join, A thread will, the child thread will execute, right? And after completing your a child thread execution, your main thread will start. So then you meet the requirement. The requirement is nothing but the total calculation will be done and you will get that output. So you here also you'll get 1225. But this is also not to be done because it will do your performance here also. So can you tell me why I cannot able to do join? So you get an output. I think the operation is happening. I have not done any sleep. Okay, the problem here is I made sleep for 10 seconds. That's the reason it's taking time. Otherwise, it will never take time such way. For that calculation, it will never be taking that time. So if you see, it is going to 1 second. So yes, so you got that requirement, but still not the right approach. Why?
Can you go to the top, please? Go to the top. I just want to check the code.
Don't see this commented one. Don't see with the synchronized one.
Yeah. I'm not a sealer. I just see the not commented. Okay. Yes. Yeah, join seem like seems should be good. I don't know why you said it's not good. Because it will wait for the child, right? For the child, how to say? The child thread to complete first, then return to the main one. It seems a good solution.
No, little bit think more, little wise. But my requirement is not to complete the child thread. My requirement is what? My requirement is only to complete this part of code. You see, in the child thread, as of now, we have written this, and you are assuming it only this things are there. Assume that in my child thread, I have 100 lines of code. Right? I have 100 lines of code in my child thread. 100 lines of code, right? So what happens when this statement will be executed? When this output will get? After executing that 100 lines, you don't would require, right? What you require? You required only after executing this part of the code only.
Oh, okay. Now I got. I got. Yeah. I
That is
thought. Yeah. Okay. In this case,
why you thought, because we have not written much code here.
yeah. Now, yes. Yes, in this case, yes, in this case, you should. I mean, how to say? It should be not like this. In this case.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
because it will wait for everything to then come back to here.
So that is not the requirement for you is nothing but this has to be printed immediately after completing this. So why I will wait for other part of it? So then this approach is also not right? So then we have that notification.
You use notify. Then
Yes.
the notify is the right solution.
Yes. So that's the reason you have this right? So when you join or when you do sleep, you may thought that is inter-thread communication. That is not exactly inter-thread communication. So what you are doing there is nothing but you are sending some signals in a join also, you are making some other thread to execute, and you are, so in one way you can say that, but that is not exact inter-thread communication. So in this inter-thread communication, you are specifying it after executing which part of the code, after which line of the code my thread has to be executed. So you are very specific about the line also. You are not specific about the method, right? You are specific about the line. So after executing this part, after this line, I want some other thread to start. So then you use what? Your inter-thread communication. How you do? You use wait, notify, all these things. So here the comes your inter-thread communication. So you cannot, you are getting your requirement by using sleep. You are getting your requirement. You use join, you get requirement. You use yield also, you may get it. But that is not the right approach. You understood why that they are not the right approaches, right? So how I will write that inter-thread communication. So as I told you, to make a thread to write the inter-thread communication, you use wait, notify, notify all, and that should be in a synchronized area only. So we have seen about a synchronized keyword, right? Similarly, you have one more thing, is nothing but your synchronized block, right? So what is the meaning of synchronized block? Is where you are for example, when you write at a method level, if you write a synchronized, that whole method will be synchronized, right? Other threads cannot act on that method until completing of that. But you have a synchronized block. In this block, you will be specifying only some particular piece of the code. You don't want other piece to be synchronized. Like for example, you have 100 lines of code. When you write a synchronized at the method level, so if I write a synchronized at the method level, what happens? That 100 lines of the code will be synchronized. It means whenever one thread is acting on that line, on that code, other threads cannot execute on that, right? So, but when you make it as a piece of code, a block code, for example, when you have 100 lines of code, you make it only for some 10 lines of code, right? So, so your synchronized block is better than your synchronized keyword. So I think you got the clarity what is the block. So here we are having a synchronized block here, and in this synchronized block, what we are doing, okay, we are passing this synchronized here, and we are making this current executing thread to go to the wait state. So, and on which we are calling on the object, right? So we are calling it on the object level, right? So here, and what we are calling here, we are calling this on the, also this belongs to the current object. So after completing this particular piece of code, what we are doing this dot notify list. Extra line.
Yeah, I got the idea.
Okay. So here, like you're getting that output, and you're not waiting it for the whole code to preambulate. For example, if you have 100 lines of code also, you're not waiting. So whenever immediately after completing this line, after completing at this point of line only, you're just doing this not notified, means you get that notification. So after completing this line only,
The bracket list here, what the list means, list thread, right? List here, single.
this is current object, right? I am so what I did, your yield or this sorry, wait, notify all, you will be calling on the objects only, right? So
Yeah.
for example, you see
Current
wait,
object.
so this is my main thread, right? So I think you remember it. So where you call that wait on an object level, you call it, right? So what is this A? This is an object,
Yes.
right? So on this object, I'm calling A dot wait, right? So here calling your main thread is calling. You try to understand it in the visually. So when I told you, so the point is here into the in threads. So for example, if your main thread is executing, so you are don't think there may be some confusion. Your class is different, your thread is different, right? So for example, whenever your main method is executing, your main thread is executing, right? So for example, code your main method, right? To execute this, you will have one thread, right? So not inter-thread exe, right? Don't think that class, method, everything is different. Class is different, method is different, thread is different. So in the thread is something that is behind our scenes that we cannot see, right? So whenever your main method, so some piece of code is executing, that piece of code is executing by internally assume it some thread is executing it, right? Some T1 thread or main thread, something. So the people get sometimes even confused with main method is main thread. So if I say main, this main method is different. If I say main thread, you have some main thread that is executing this part of code, right? So that main thread is executing this, and who is executing this child thread? I'm saying this A, right? So when I say run method, so who is executing this run method is nothing but your child thread. Now you have two threads, one your main thread, right? Main method is different thread. So main thread is executing the code which is present in the main method. You may know, but I'm making it very clearly. So you have a thread, you have, for example, you have other child thread that is executing the code which is present in your run method, right? Here on this main thread, whenever the main thread is executing, what we are doing, we are calling the a dot wait, right? So if you see, I have shown you a bank object and shown this diagram. I think you remember.
Yes. Yeah, I
So
remember. Yes.
when you recall this, you can connect this very easily. So I told you, right? So you asked me a question that time. So when I have notify all, right? So when I say notify, which thread will come? You asked me that doubt, you remembered. So when I have T1 and T threads, so when I have T1 and T through threads, and I have an object here, you asked me when I say T3 dot notify. So T3, when the T3 is calling notify, so whenever T3 is calling notify, you ask me which thread will come, whether T2 will come or T1 will come or T2 will come. You asked, you remember this question? Right? So then I told you, when you see the code, you will never, you will not ask me this question. So here is the point. So you have your T1. So what is this T1 here? Your T1 is now your main thread.
Yes.
Right? So the main thread which is executing here. Right? So this is my, what is my object here? My object here is nothing but my A. Right? A is my object. What I told, your T1 will call what wait method on an object, right? It means internally. So this is nothing on T1 thread. On T1 thread, what we are doing, your T1 will call is nothing but on T1, right? On T1, sorry, on T1 means here main thread dot T1 is same, right? So on executing that main thread, what I am calling wait method. On where I am calling the wait method? On object, right? So it means which thread will go to the waiting state? This thread will go to the waiting state. The thread which is executing. So for example, there is some thread which is executing the main method, right? So that thread will go to the waiting state. That means your main thread will not execute. So main method will not execute. Is it simple, right? So I think you are able to connect it. That visualization is main required when you do interpret. So when you see multi-threading, right? So here I am calling on object, right? If you see on a object, I am calling wait method. right? And what happens? Your main thread or T1 will go to the
waiting state.
right? It is going to the waiting state. So until what time it will be in waiting state?
And the T3 finished.
No. Yes, T3 call notify. Right? Until T3 call notify on which one? On this A object. Right? T3 call notify on this particular object. Until T3 call notify on this particular object, it will be in notify. So whenever your T3 is executing it, right? So whenever your T3 is executing, once I call notify on that particular object, right? So then what happens? This thread will come out of the waiting state and it will start executing it.
Yes.
So on where I need to call that notify on an object A, right? So where on which object your thread called notify a wait method and went to the waiting state? By calling on A object. On whenever you call notify on that A object, that will come out of the waiting state. So here, if you see, this is my A object. So what I said, you have this. This means I am the current object. So here I am in class A. So if I say this indicates which one? This indicates
A object.
Right? So here this indicates what? This indicates interthread exe. But here we are used. So it means that on A object, your main thread called and went to the waiting state. Right? On that particular A object, what we need to call? We need to call whenever your thread 2 whenever your T2 or T3 is executing, that T3 is executing, we need to call notify, right? So
I got it. I'm clear with yes. So because when the let's say when the looping finished complete, then we the how to say the child thread will execute the notify on the A object, and then the main method will continue, and that's the sequence.
How the main method is continuing? Your main thread.
When the notify, when the A notify, when the T3 the thread, when the thread T3 thread 3 complete, and it will call the notified on the object A, and then the main thread here, which is thread 1, will go out from waiting state to running, and that's the sequence.
Yes. So whenever your thread is coming out, then it will execute that main.
Yes.
So the thing I'm trying to make sure is, because even when I was learning multi-threading also, I have that confusion. What is this thread? What is a method? There is a lot of confusion, sir. So I don't want you to do that confusion. So whenever your code is executing, that is executed by thread. So if you are stopping the thread, your code will not execute. A simple point.
Yeah. And here, number 7 is calling the child thread. Number 7.
Number 7.
Yes.
A.
Yeah, it's calling. It will start run the launch the child thread. Right?
Yes.
And then it will execute the run method, and then after the run method complete, it will call the notified on A object, and then it come back to the main thread to a main method and to execute continuously.
Yes, exactly. Right. So actually multi-threading is there are a lot of things in multi-threading, Mike. So when you are interested, like you can learn a lot actually. So this is nothing but the basics actually. So there is much things behind the multi-threading. So if you are interested with that, you can even learn it more on this. So there are many jobs even will be there for multi-threading itself.
Multi-threading itself, you mean for the Java developer?
Yes. So there are not like much, but you have like specific for example, when you do some gamings, right? So mostly the gaming applications or the video applications or some things where you involve a lot of multi-threading, there it requires actually. So a lot more. Actually. So what we are learning is the basics. So there are much things, and even it is, I feel it is little interesting also. Little, I feel this is little tricky or little interesting compared to other topics. So for example, when you learn collections, there is nothing in collections. You see what is a class and where you used to. It's like a theory only, right? You don't think more in that collections topic. But when it comes to multi-threading, you need to understand the concepts very well.
Mm.
So you even need to take the decision what I need to use, right? Whether I need to use sleep or join. As I've given a simple example, but you will have this in a very complex scenarios, right? Whatever the scenario that I've taken looks simple, but when you do a real-time project, these things will be in a very complex things, and you have to take a decision which one has to use and how you do communication. Even when I've taken this, it may be looking simple or something, but you have a lot more examples with complex also. I've taken this because it will be very simple and it will be, I think this makes you understand very easy, right? After completing this action, you will notify. After that, your main thread will come and it will start executing your main method. So you're on so now your T2, there is no point of T2, right? So because here you're dealing with only T. So you call T notify on this T3.notify. Whenever T3 is executing, you call the notify on this particular object, and your T1 will come and will start executing. Is that clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Mike, we'll just stop that. I'll just share this in WhatsApp. If you want, you just please do trial and error versions.
Yeah.
I hope, like, we done most of the things in multi-threading, right? So I'll never say everything was done, right? Because you will have much things, but what I guarantee is nothing. But I was trying to give the best, that the basics that you can able to understand, then you see the complex scenarios. So I'm
Yeah,
trying
sure.
to actually. Okay, I'll try. I'll send this in WhatsApp actually.
Okay.
Okay, fine, Mike. Okay, so if possible, we'll connect tomorrow also.
Tomorrow we will also connect.
Yes. So what happens? We'll try to have the class regularly. It's like we'll try to wind up this in this week. So if there is a
Okay.
chance, I'll let you know before itself, right?
Okay.
100% will, but if there is any,
Sure. Tomorrow it's like 10 or 11 for me. 11 a.m. or 10 a.m.
Today same time, I think 10 a.m. Is it fine? So today time
Yeah.
only.
Okay. 10 is okay. Okay, then it's 10. Okay.
Okay.
Because I thought it's 11, but okay, 10 is okay for me.
Okay. That's what. If any changes, I'll let you know. So please don't
Okay.
fix.
Okay. So it's still 10. Okay.
Okay. But you are comfortable with if any changes also, right?
Yeah. Yes. 10 is okay.
Okay. Fine. Okay, Mike.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yes.
Bye.